What's up, YouTube? Today I'm gonna put that starter in. I finally got the starter delivered to me and a few other parts. I want to get this car at least running so that I can get it outside and get something else inside. And it's past due. I've been waiting almost 2 weeks for this starter. And yes, I waited the 2 weeks. I was a little bit more patient just because the cost savings of getting it online as opposed to getting it locally. And along with all the other parts, I still got the starter cheaper. With all the other parts, I got for cheaper than I could get a starter here. So it shouldn't be too difficult of a job. It was pretty easy getting it out of there, and all I have to do is just set the camera up and we'll get the starter in. And after the starter, I have to make some I have to put some other parts on before we can actually crank this thing over. I just want to show you guys how much snow is built up in the backyard. So that's like, I don't know, over a foot of snow on the hood of the Forester and the Legacy. The snow comes right up halfway up the doors, and it is snowing again. But they say it's going to rain all next week, so there's going to be water everywhere. So here's the actual starter. Box I've never seen before. It's a reman starter. Looks like they did decent quality cleaning it up and done in Mexico. Nice hardware. Just want to match it up with the old one, make sure we got dealing with the same thing here. It looks good. Okay, so the battery's still disconnected, and it's actually sitting on charge. I've had it on charge for about an hour, and the voltage is pretty much up over 13 volts, so it should be good to crank over. If you look down there, there's actually a bolt missing out of there. But here's the new starter. Just kind of fish it down in through here. Rest there for a second. See, I'll try and get the top bolt to go in first. Just kind of feeling through the back side here. See if I... Is it all the way over there? No. Is it? I got the threads on the bolt pretty cleaned up. Just gonna wind this in by fingers as far as I can. Try and get the bottom bolt in. Bolt's wound in nice and easy. 14 mil. So we've got the mounting bolts all tightened up, and we can go ahead and put the main battery lead on. It's got a little lock washer along with the nut. I believe this aftermarket nut is probably a 1/2 inch, but I've got a 13 here. It's a pretty thin nut. You kind of want to watch the lock washer as you're tightening it, because these copper threads are pretty easy to rip up by over tightening. It doesn't need to be cranked on too tight. You want it tight enough it's of course not going to come loose and cause you no power issues. Just try and give it a wiggle. It should be good. Try and get the factory boot to come up over top a little bit. Keep those threads clean at the end. And then it's actually got the factory connector that I can just plug back in. There we go. It should be okay like that. So the starter's installed. Install some ignition parts and maybe nudge back the distributor a little bit to retard the timing, because it's fully advanced on the adjustment, so I don't want to try and restart it and bust this starter, so that's what we'll have to do next. So to start, all we're going to do here is loosen these distributor bolts just a little bit. Maybe past a 1/4 turn. It might be difficult to move it, but yeah, we're going to have to undo them quite a bit. You just want to nudge it counterclockwise just a touch. That might be too far. And next we're going to just pretty much perform a cheap tune-up. All these parts didn't cost very much, but I figured for the cost of them it was something I wanted to do and get done. I haven't even pulled a spark plug. They don't look very old. Someone might have changed them, and I may even leave them in there. So we got our new rotor. You can see that or not. There's a screw, eh? So just loosen the screw, holds the rotor in place. A couple little wiggles, pops right off. It's not in too bad of condition. A brand new one. You definitely don't want to strip this one. We'll dig out our new cap. We want to get it arranged as the old cap is. So see this little vent on the bottom there. So we can go right ahead and just install our new cap. These guys you definitely don't want to strip for two reasons. You definitely don't want to strip out the threads inside the distributor, or they're going to have to put a bolt and nut all the way through. Or you can actually crack the cap and then cause it not to seat properly. So we'll kind of sit the old cap next to the new one, and then we can get a good orientation of where all these plug wires go. So we'll start with the coil wire, just because it's probably the easiest. It's the same on both ends. Sometimes you get two coil wires for different styles. I just want to make sure I've got what I need. Here they do give two coil wires. One's like well, pretty much twice as long as the other. Looks like I need the long one for now anyway. So the coil wire goes to the center of the cap. And for right now I'm just going to loop it under here where the coil is. And then we'll start with number one wire. So you can see where it's positioned. You need to put the plug wire on here for number one. First we're going to pull this plug out and see what it looks like. That's not good. Okay, so we get some AC Delco plugs in it. They're not that old, so I'm putting in these cheaper V-Power, NGK V-Power plugs. They're a fucking awesome value plug. This is set to about 41, 42. It's probably good enough. I'm going to leave it there, it's just above 40. It looks like the Delco plug might have been slightly colder. So I like to get it pretty good and seated, and then a good 8th turn probably after that. So take a tiny bit of dielectric compound, put it right in the end of the boot, so when it goes over top of the plug it can just kind of get all around the plug there. Give it a nice push on, feel that click. And then this wire is going to go to the bottom right here. You don't necessarily feel a click on this other style, you just have to make sure they're well seated in there. And then we'll move on to number 2. All the plugs are installed and plug wires are on, new cap and rotor. Starter's in, battery should be fully charged. So all I've got to do is reconnect the battery, and I'll probably leave the charger on it just to boost the battery while I'm cranking it over, make sure I got lots of cranking power. And so yeah, I'm really not sure what's going to happen here, especially with loosening the distributor and just giving a little tweak. I have no idea where the timing is, and I don't have the time light to borrow yet, so just keeping our fingers crossed. Going to turn the booster on. Yeah, it lit right up. So it chugged a little bit at first, but it did end up lighting right up. And even where I have the timing set right now, I mean, it sounds pretty good. There's really nothing at the tailpipe, looks nice and clean. Yeah, fuck it, it runs pretty decent. It's got a little hiccup here and there, but I obviously got to check the timing. And I got to go over the whole thing. I mean, look at this coil wiring. This looks horrible. Yeah, I don't want to let it run too much longer and fill my garage carbon monoxide. You can already see my breath. I mean, it's not that cold in here, but that's actually fumes that I'm breathing out. Yeah, that's it for this time. And if you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Comment down below, give this video a share, and subscribe if you haven't already, because there's going to be lots more of this thing. And it's alive again. I'll see you in the next one.